asked to be on the call tonight because, to me, there's nothing better than being with a bunch of rowdy Texans. Texans have a unique attitude. I've traveled to 40 states in the last couple of years, and I know you guys think of yourselves as unique, and I hear that in almost every state, but I'll tell you Texas is actually different than the rest of the country. And the biggest difference I see in Texas and Texans is there is a patriotism about being Texan that rivals what I feel about being an American. And it's an extraordinary thing, and it's put into the way that you guys do activism. So it makes you different as activists also. So I'm always proud to have interchange with the Texas leadership team, with the Texas grassroots. You guys do have one of the best leadership teams in the nation, one of the most active, in my opinion, one of the most sophisticated, thorough, hardworking leadership teams in the nation. And it's no surprise that you guys have the biggest grassroots army in the nation. It's not just based on population numbers in Texas, but you have a great leadership team, and you have a great fighting spirit there in Texas, and Texas always leads the way. And that's what's going on right now in Convention of States. You heard the numbers, just broke 91,000 activists. You guys will be over 100,000 folks by the time you get into session. And the important thing about folks like you that are on this call and folks that are activists or claim to be activists is that we get active. That's what we do. It's not enough to just say, yeah, I'm in and I support. I mean, I love people who do that. I'm glad when they sign on. I'm glad they support us. But what the country really needs are people who are willing to step up and be active. And when you're on this call tonight, I'm talking to you because you're here. That means you're active, right? There's lots of things you could be doing right now at home in the evening with your family, but instead you chose to be on this call, and that means that you care enough to actually be engaged. You care enough to actually be in the fight. And the fundamental fight facing the country today, it's not a presidential election. Contrary to what the media will tell you, this is not a fight between Democrats and Republicans. It's not a fight between Trump and Hillary. Certainly those fights are going on, but the meta fight, the big fight, the real fight is between us as the citizens and a government that frankly wants to crush us. You know, the government grows bigger, we get smaller. That's the old adage, and that's the truth. That's what's happening today. We live in an era that our parents could not possibly have imagined, a time when the government tells you how to raise your kids, where to send them to school, what kind of car you can drive, what kind of fuel you can put in your car. For goodness sake, they tell us what kind of toilets we can put in our houses. This is a thing that literally our parents never imagined the world could get this way, and their grandparents and their parents before them certainly never imagined the government intimately involved in our lives in this way. So because of this, the fundamental question facing us isn't simply what should we do, it's more fundamental. It's deeper. The fundamental question facing us is who decides? That's the question of our time. Who decides? You know, amazingly, that's the same question that was facing the founders back in the Revolutionary War. Because what they were facing is a time in American history where they had governed themselves for 5 generations in excess of 150 years, and suddenly the king and parliament come in and say, by the way, we've decided we can tell you what to do, how to do it, when we're going to make you do it, and we're going to tax you for it. And we're going to do that whenever we want, and you're not represented. That's what the king had said through the Declaratory Act. And when the people were asked the question in America back in that time, back in revolutionary times, who decides, they answered unequivocally. They answered, we decide. We, the people, decide. We, the families, decide for our own families. We, the people in our community, will decide for our own communities. We, the people in a colony, will decide for our own colony, but we're certainly not going to let you, some far distant ruling elite, decide for us. And don't let anybody fool you. We face that same fundamental question today. The pundits on TV, the politicians, the consultants, the analysts, they're all going to tell you that the real question that you're facing today is who to vote for president. I'm not telling you shouldn't vote. I mean, there's a clear choice. There's a clear line to draw between the candidates, different philosophies, different parties. I think I don't have to educate you all on that. You guys know the difference between the candidates, and everybody needs to vote. I don't believe in abdicating your vote, no matter who's running. So we're all going to vote. But does any of us, do any of you on this call tonight, can you look yourself in the mirror and say, I believe that if candidate A or candidate B is elected, whoever you choose, do you really fundamentally believe in your heart that that will change for the better the way Washington, D.C. operates. Does anybody actually believe that Washington, D.C. will get smaller on anybody's watch? If you do, you're not reading history. You're not looking at recent history. Ronald Reagan, the greatest conservative icon in modern American history, went into D.C. with the idea that he was going to shrink the federal government. He was going to do away with the Department of Education. He appointed a cabinet secretary to do that. And in the end, when it was all over and Reagan had done everything he could do, the great communicator, the great politician that he was, the great conservative that he was, when it was all over and all was said and done, the federal government under Ronald Reagan's watch had grown. That's what happened under Ronald Reagan. So those of us who look back and remember Ronald Reagan fondly, as I do, that was my first vote. I voted for Reagan when I was 18 years old. I have a bronze statue of him sitting here in my office. I admire the man immensely. But if Ronald Reagan couldn't do it, what makes us believe that any politician can? And if you don't believe that any politician can, then you are right. You get it. A lot of people don't get it, but you get it. And that's why the only solution as big as the problem is Convention of States. That's why the founders gave us Article 5 and the ability to call a Convention of States, because they knew at some point we would reach this moment in American history where the government grew so big and so out of control that the politicians wouldn't restrain it, and it would be up to us, the people, acting through our state legislatures. So I'm really proud that you guys are doing it there in Texas, that you're leading the way. There's an important fight going on in Texas right now at this very moment, and the fight is this. One of our friends, one of our allies, a guy who does a lot of great stuff for the state of Texas, who comes straight out of the grassroots himself, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, right now is simply not talking about Convention of States publicly. And I want to be clear, I'm not trying to imply in any way that he doesn't support Convention of States. But the reality is he won't say that in public, or he hasn't said it in public yet. And we don't know why, and we've asked, and we can't get any kind of a reason why he won't do it. But the reality is we need the Lieutenant Governor's leadership in the Senate. And he is the leader of the Senate. And if he leads, the Senate will follow. We got it done in the House last session. We're going to need Lieutenant Governor Patrick to step up and help us get it done in the Senate. And so what we're doing right now is we're exercising our grassroots muscle. And you guys are doing a great job of it. Over 3,000 petitions already into the Lieutenant Governor, 300 personal letters. If you haven't sent one of those letters, if you haven't signed that petition, you need to do it immediately after this call. We need to put all the pressure we can to get him to step up and sit in the seat where he belongs, which is at the head of the table for Convention of States in the Senate. That place is set for him. That's where he belongs, and that's where we want him. You know, Governor Patrick, we're on the same side generally with Governor Patrick, and we're probably on the same side of this on this issue. But we need him to step up and say that he's on our side. So I would encourage all of you, again, if you haven't written a personal letter to Lieutenant Governor Patrick, go ahead and do that. The guys on the call tonight can tell you how to do all that and how to use the system we've set up. And more important than that, be an activist. Send that petition. Ask your friends and your family and everybody you know to do the exact same thing. If we end up with 100 people on the call tonight, or 150 people, imagine if each of those people tells another 100 people through your email list. You've got 100 people on your email list. You've got 100 Texans that you know. Ask them to ask Governor Patrick to step up and be a champion for Convention of States. It's a really important thing we're doing. I can tell you people are frustrated with us for doing it. People in the Lieutenant Governor's office, they don't like that we're doing this. But this is the way it works with folks in government office. When they don't want to take a position, they don't like being forced to take a position. But that's what our job is. You guys are a grassroots army. You're supposed to use your muscle to get the folks that you help elect to support the things that you want them to support. You guys are doing a great job of that right now. You did a great job of that with Governor Abbott when we needed Governor Abbott on board. You guys have now seen the governor's incredibly on board, super helpful. It's time we get the Lieutenant Governor to help us and do the exact same thing. So I just want to close by telling you, and this is not rhetoric here. I live in California. Somebody on a call today said the great state of California when they introduced me. I was talking to some legislators from Arkansas, and I said, well, that's maybe the formerly great state of California. That's about the best thing you can say. You know, it's a beautiful state. I've lived here my whole life, and it saddens me greatly to see what's happened to this state politically just in my lifetime. And that's why, because of people like you on this call, and all the wonderful people I know in the state of Texas, and what you guys are able to do politically and what you do socially and just the values in Texas, that's why eventually, absolutely, Patty and I will be moving to Texas. And I just want you to know that I consider myself an honorary Texan. I have the majority of my friends are in Texas. The majority of my political contacts are in Texas. The majority of time, if I'm not in California, is spent in Texas, because that's where my heart is. Texas leads the way, and I expect and hope and know that you guys will continue to lead the way on the Convention of States project. So with that, Tam, I'll turn it back over to you and your leadership team, and I'll hang out and listen and just absorb all the wonderful stuff in Texas.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. I get an opportunity now to introduce our second special guest of the evening, and again, someone who has been a stalwart champion for our nation. I'm excited to introduce, we have Representative Rick Miller on the line, and he is carrying our legislation in the House this year. And one thing that I find so special about Rick Miller, and that is, beside the fact his call sign as a Navy fighter pilot was Bullet, which is incredible, but this man absolutely has a heart for our nation, a heart for the state of Texas, and a heart for the grassroots in the state of Texas. And he is, I say he's a state legislator, but for those of us who spend a lot of time walking the halls and using his office as our kind of home away from home, he is absolutely, we could not have a better House sponsor than Representative Rick Miller, and we just have come to really love and adore this man because he's really a kindred spirit with all of us. So on that, I'd like to introduce Representative Rick Miller.
Oh, thank you so much, Tamara, and thank you to the leadership team across the country. And Mark, if you're still on the phone, your leadership is just essential to what we're doing here in Texas. But the leadership team, the Texas COS team, all the grassroots folks out there, the people on this call, you're so important to what we're trying to do for our country, and that's what it's all about. You know, I wrote a email blast today, a draft on 9/11, and I was trying to give my personal experience of that because I was right across the river, the Hudson River, when those planes went into the Twin Towers. And what it comes down to for me is when I was a midshipman at the Naval Academy, I took an oath of office to support and defend our Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and to bear true faith and allegiance to the same. And I live that oath today. And when I took that as an officer and became a pilot in the Navy, I was willing to give my life for my country. And so that's what it is for me. This country, my country, our country, it is our country. And we, the people, must step up and take it back and do the right things for our future, for our children, our grandchildren, and their future. And our government is out of whack. It's out of control. It's not living the Constitution that was put in place by our founders. So that's what's important to me. I care about my country. I'm willing to die for my country, and I'm willing to lead this effort with Senator Birdwell, and I have every confidence in him and his ability to bring the Senate around after we get this through the House, or even before we get it through the House. But we have a plan. Last session we did get it through the House. We had a lot of great support from the leadership team, the COS leadership team. We did get it through the House, and this time around we're going to be even more successful in the House, I know, because we have a great plan in place. And so I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the session. I'm looking forward to working with all of you out there across Texas. And we need your support. We need your support to contact all of our representatives, all of the senators, to get everybody on board, because we cannot do it without you. And remember, this is our country. It's up to us to step up. I have this little slogan I used in my district and in my county is, we show up, we stand up, we speak up, we take a stand. And if we're not all doing that, then we're not doing what we can to take our country back and to get it on the right course. And as Mark said, even Ronald Reagan couldn't make things happen, and he was probably one of our greatest presidents. So I'm thrilled to to lead this again in the House. I'm looking forward to it. We have a great plan in place. I'm not worried so much about getting it through the House, but I have every confidence in my colleague, Senator Birdwell, and what he's going to do in the Senate. And I'll be working on the Lieutenant Governor. He's a very good friend of mine. I'll be working on him, but all of us need to work on him. So with that, Tamara, I'll turn it back to you. I'm excited about our opportunity here. I know we're going to get it done this next session. I know we're going to do it. And so Texas then can lead the way. So thank you again, Tamara, and all the leadership team. Mark, if you're still on the phone, for what you're all doing. And thank you, Grassroots, because you're so important to our effort. Tamara?
Thanks, Bullet. Appreciate that. Paul?
You're welcome.
All right. I get the privilege of introducing our third guest. Couldn't be more excited to have Senator Birdwell lead our cause here in the Senate in Texas. He also happens to be my senator, so it gives me an extra bit of privilege doing that. And I'm just going to turn it over to Senator Birdwell at this moment.
Thank you. I very much appreciate it, Paul. As Rick did, if Mark is still on the line, thank you, because getting 50 different state legislatures to work on this problem together, it was one of the challenges that the founders put in place, that you don't make changes lightly. This is not a light and transient cause, but it is a cause that is worth the rigor of the future generations that we want to live these liberties or leave these liberties to them. With my colleague Rick Miller on the line, Rick set me up for some tough duty because, look, the Senate is going to be a tough battle, but my first wish to my colleague in arms, Rick, is go Army, beat Navy. Maybe there's a pity win sometime in December waiting for Army, but it's been 15 years since we won that game. So, but let me just tell you why we are where we are, because in talking about government, more specifically, we're talking about a convention of states isn't just the mechanism, one of the two mechanisms by which the Constitution is amended. The primary purpose of the Convention of the States aspect or function is to rebalance the proper role and function between what belongs to the federal government and what belongs to the state governments. It's not what government will decide. It is what level of government does the deciding, similar to what Mark had said. I come at this position as a military professional from the perspective that when you tell, I'm going to use this term very carefully, because while Washington is a belligerent opponent, the word enemy has a very specific meaning, probably to Rick as well. And I do not use that term generically. So I view Washington and its structure right now as the belligerent opponent. When you tell your belligerent opponent what you will not do, what your threshold for action is, what you will not do to impose your will, in doing so, you do not impose your will upon them. If you're dealing with your disobedient child, telling him what threshold you won't reach to take action doesn't compel them to behave properly. We have a problem with not only structurally, but I think in many respects, many of our national or federal representatives do not doctrinally understand, or at least do not live their oath of office to understand the difference between their role as federal legislators. The states created the federal government, and it was the original 13 states that did so. But every state that joined the Union after the original 13, just like an adopted child, becomes a full heir to what the original 13 states did. The state of Texas does not require the constant adult supervision of Washington, D.C., and to how to structure, how to overmanage, and various things that we get told to manage. We are on a battlefield for the ability for the state of Texas to decide for itself the things that are clearly belong to the people of the state of Texas by what our Constitution as a state says we do and what the Constitution of the United States says are our responsibilities clearly delineated against federal responsibilities. To rebalance that, we have to use this combat power. For those that would say this is not, and I know none of the folks on this call are advocating this, but for those that would be out there saying this is dangerous, sitting on our butt doing nothing and watching our country go over the cliff, is a whole lot more dangerous. There may be challenges with this. Clearly, I've got to do some work with the Lieutenant Governor. I take that as my charge as well, Paul. And I know Rick lives down in the Houston area, but he's my presiding officer. I'm certainly going to visit with the Lieutenant Governor about this issue. But there are many challenges ahead of us. Generals do not win battles. Rick and I and Mark may find ourselves in leadership positions, but it is the sergeant, the lieutenant, the private that wins the fight because they're the ones engaged in it. So let me say thank you to all the volunteers that are out there on this call, those that are the combat power that you bring to this challenge, the work that you are doing to get us to this point. We've come this far to try to get this issue before the state legislature, the work that the governor's done. It's all because of you and the grassroots that are making this happen. Thank you guys so much. I very much appreciate it. And I'll hang on for a little bit before I've got to go. But, Paul, with that, I'll return it back to you. Thank you for the opportunity to visit tonight, sir.
Oh, Senator, thank you so very much. And I do want you to hang on for just a moment because Mark is still on the line, and he does want to have a couple of closing comments.
Yeah, I just want to briefly jump in and tell everybody on this call how lucky you are to have Representative Miller and Senator Birdwell leading the way in the legislature. Because what you guys have is real leadership in the legislature. And being from Texas and being able to hear from men like this, men with leadership experience who really understand the fight, and you heard him talk about how important the actual Army is, you don't get that. We don't get that in all 50 states. It's rare. Normally what we're doing when we're working with folks in the legislature is just a lot of hand-holding going on because these guys are busy and they got a lot going on and they don't necessarily understand that all this well. They're certainly not in the fight at the level that you have with Representative Miller and Senator Birdwell. And so it's really important to me that you guys understand the kind of leadership you have. And from my heart to you guys, I just thank both of you. You can't even imagine how great it makes me feel to hear you on this line and know that we've got you leading the fight there in the legislature. So thank you very, very much.
Happy to be here.
Thank you, Hua. Glad to be in the foxhole with you.
You bet.
All right. Thank all of you. This is fantastic. I know Tamara and I are messaging back and forth during all of this, just excited. And with that, we're going to go into the next part of the meeting, which is to introduce our state leadership. And regional captains, you got to be ready to roll. And I don't know if Art Bedford is on because I don't think I ever saw his number pop up. Art, are you on? And if not, we're going to move straight to Natalie Miller. Natalie, take it away. Let's know where you are and what's going on.
All right. First, just let me say it's just an honor and a privilege to be a part of this group, and you guys inspire me. I am regional captain for Regions 3 and 7. And Region 3, as of yesterday, we have 3,194 supporters and volunteers. We have 9 counties, which consist of Dallas, Grayson, Delta, Fannin, Van Zant, Hopkins, Hunt, Rockwall, and Collin counties. There are 12 House districts and 2 Senate districts in Region 3. Senate District 2 and 16, which are Senators Bob Hall and Don Huffines, both who are on the fence. There's 12 House districts. We have 4 that are opposed, Representatives Johnson, Giddings, Rose, and Villalba. With the exception of Villalba, they're mostly southern Dallas County that are the Democratic representatives. Region 7, we have a total of 3,069 supporters and volunteers as of yesterday. That includes 2 counties, almost all of Tarrant County, with the exception of 2 House districts that are in the southeast part of Tarrant County, and then 1 House district in western Dallas County, which is District 105. There are 10 House districts and 2 Senate districts. The 2 Senate districts are 9 and 10, which are Senators Kelly Hancock and Connie Burton, both of which are on the fence as well. Of the 10 House districts, there are 2 representatives opposed, Representative Romero and Collier, and both of those House districts are in the heart of Tarrant County, Fort Worth area. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Natalie. Galen McPherson, I know you're on. Take it away, Galen.
Okay. First of all, pleased to be here. I'm fairly new at this, so bear with me as we go through it. I am Region 5. We have 2 Senate districts. We have 6 and 13, both of which are officially listed right now as unknown. Sylvia Garcia with an unknown position. We have a listing of Boris Miles as a senator for District 13, but he's also listed as the rep for 146, so I need to get that sorted out. My district is basically Houston, core of the city, everything inside the Beltway 8 for anybody that's used to it, and a couple little sticky out parts down south and southeast. Predominantly very heavily Democratic. In the 15 districts, we have, my concern right now is the leadership and recruitment. We have 6 districts without district captains, which I need to fill. We have 3 districts that the executive team and I are kind of monitoring their activity level and so forth. Then we have 6 that are good and strong. So as far as support goes, for the Convention of States, it is strictly party line. I have 15 House districts, and we have 3 Republicans supporting. We have 1 House district that's vacant, and then we have 10 opposed. And we have 1, again, the confusion between the Senate District 13 and House District 146. I'm not sure where to put that right now. So my priorities going forward, support the team any way I can, but my primary focus is to determine what the senatorial positions are in those 2 districts, and then get on my hobby horse and start doing some D.C. recruitment, because this is a heavily Democratic, a heavily opposed region, and I know I can't do it myself, and all the help I'm getting is great, but we still need to drag up some more. So that's where we stand right now.
All right. Terrific, Galen. Allison, I know you're on the line. Go ahead and take it away.
Yes, sir. I'm on the line. Thank you guys for everything y'all do. I'm the Region 4 regional captain, which is comprised of Senate Districts 24, 5, and 18, extending from Abilene all the way down to the Gulf Coast of Texas, so pretty much right through the middle of the state. The Republican senators are Senator Schwertner in 5, who has not committed to this, Colhorst in 18, who has not committed to this. Frazier was in 24. He did oppose us, but we do have 2 candidates that are running in the election. And Dr. Buckingham may be favorable, but we're not positive yet. So we don't have any firm commitment of support from any of the senators at this time. The primary challenge in this area is there's just a strong Eagle Forum presence here, and so it's just a constant battle because they do obviously oppose what we're doing. I do have, 6 and 8, 9 reps in Senate District 5. 6 of them do support us and 3 do not. And I do not know about 24 and 18, what's happening in those with those representatives. So that's all I got.
All right. Thank you, Allison. Ron Diggs, I haven't seen you on, so if you don't speak up, we're going to move on to Doug Richter. Doug, I know you had a little problem getting on, but you're on now. Take it away.
Okay, yeah, I'm the regional captain for Region 11, which is in the San Antonio area, and it goes all the way out to El Paso, and so we kind of split that up into 2. So I'm taking the San Antonio area. That includes Senators Uresti and Senator Menendez, and we are unsure of their position, but we have secured meetings with both of them. One is on the 13th, and then also Menendez has agreed to speak with us on the 26th. Our grassroots coordinator for the region has some good previous relations with those 2. So we're both kind of throwing it back and forth. We feel realistically optimistic about their support. They each have, USC has about 900 supporters in his district. Menendez has over 950. So we should have the numbers to sway those 2. I guess some of the challenges we're having is that, I guess, having the 2-year cycle between sessions is we're trying to get the all our supporters back re-engaged. So what we have kind of decided to do is try to pinpoint a few different areas. One is the speaking events around the region to elevate awareness, calling supporters to participate in our email blast campaign, and also try to keep a constant legislator contact, whether that's office visits or phone calls or emails. But the House districts in here, it's kind of almost party line. Democrats oppose, being San Antonio, it's pretty heavily Democrat. There are a few Republicans in the area, and they seem to support it. So it's kind of just an effort of getting people re-engaged and starting now and keeping contact with these legislators.
All right, Doug, thanks. I did not see Tom Reynolds get on the line. Tom, are you on? Aaron Ponce has been really good lately getting on, but I haven't heard anything from him. Aaron, are you on? And if not, Angie Turner, you're up.
Okay, am I unmuted?
You are unmuted.
Okay. I'm RC for Region 13, which includes all of Senate District 28 and SD 31, and a House District in SD 24, SD 30, and a House District in SD 19. I'm temporary RC for Region 9, which includes part of SD 12 and SD 30. My two regions contain 19 House districts and 107 counties total. The geographical area is everything north to the Oklahoma border from an irregular U-shaped line, beginning in the northeast with Cook County and running south to Denton, Parker, and Hood, then west and southwest to Eastland, Brown, Maynard, and Llano, and as far south as Medina County, northwest to Edwards and Crockett, northwest along the Pecos River to Ward and Winkler counties on the western border with New Mexico, and all the counties north, including the entire Panhandle region to the northern border with Oklahoma. 51 counties comprise of 1/5 of Texas in Senator Charles Perry's district, which is SD 28, and Senator Perry carried our legislation last session. 37 counties are in Senator Kellinger's district, SD 31, and he has recently publicly supported COS. Opposition in Region 13 is in HD 53 and HD 82. Out of 19 House districts, opposition in Region 9 includes HD 63, HD 64, and HD 65 in SD 12 and SD 30. Both Senator Jane Nelson and Senator Craig Estes opposed COS last legislative session in 2015. That's all I have.
All right. I just got a message that Aaron's on the line, but Aaron, I don't know if you dialed in with the guest number. If you did, speak up. If not, I'm going to have to try and find you. And I'm guessing that you didn't dial in with the guest line, so we'll try and get to you in a moment. Let me say this about our regional captains. And we knew this last session, that it is incredibly difficult to manage a state this size. And I know Tamara, who was the sole state director last session, and Tom Dowdy and Martin were kind of the main leadership, and Wes Wisenhunt was our grassroots coordinator. He's still involved, but has stepped aside from that. We just didn't have the reach that we've got now, and that's one of the reasons we wanted to introduce all the regional captains and let you know that there's leadership around the state, and it's extremely helpful. Continue to lift those folks up in prayer and give them support. There's a couple regions that were also missed that are being picked up by exec team members, and we'll talk about those in a moment as we get to them, and that's kind of where we're headed at the moment is the executive team. Just real quickly explain kind of what your role is as you know it, and it may be different than what was explained to you because you grow into it. And then if you're doing something besides just your exec membership, go ahead and let us know. Bill Ely, you're up first, our grassroots coordinator.
Yes, thanks, Paul. Glad to be on, guys, and glad to have such a strong team. Statewide grassroots coordinator, primarily what I do is try to help the regional captains place district captains in open districts and take sort of the initial enablement, some of the IT stuff, the setup, coordination, sort of handhold as best I can. It's quite difficult. There's, about 110, 120 of us, not including the grassroots folks. So, and we try to build a bit of a bench in each district. So not just the district captain, but bring on some grassroots folks that will work local in those house districts. I also am the regional captain in regions 2 and 8. I was also region 5, but Galen McPherson has graciously stepped up to, I think, probably the most difficult region in the state. But anyway, so I've got region 2 and region 8, and that's down southeast Texas around Houston. And both of my regions surround Galen's. So our key strategy here, I'm very blessed with my 2 regions. So what we're trying to do is apply the strength in regions 2 and 5 and 8 to help out Galen. So region 2 is sort of Beltway or Interstate 10 north up to about halfway through Montgomery County. Most of us is northern part of Harris County all the way over to Louisiana. So it includes Chambers and Jefferson. I've got, in that district, I've got 11 House districts. 10 of them are Republican. All of them are in favor. There's one, a new one in 126. That's Kevin Roberts, where I think he's on the fence or unknown. The Mark Keel, there were some questions on how he voted and some doubt in 2015. My district captain and coalition director assured me that Mark is on board. About 4,300 supporters in that region, and over almost 560 of them are volunteers. On the Senate side, I've got really 3 senators I'm responsible, but a bit of my territory touches Allison's with Lois Kolkhorst. Of those 4 senators, I've got Creighton and Betancourt are strong supporters. Whitmore is closer to the loop, and he's a Democrat. His position is unknown. And like Allison, Lois Kolkhorst's position unknown, but we think she'll easily support. But again, she hasn't publicly stated so. In Region 8, this is the south part, so south of Interstate 10, outside of the 610 loop. So this gets down to Rick Miller's district. We've got the east side of Fort Bend County all the way over to Galveston County and Brazoria. In this region, we've got 9 districts. 8 of them are Republican. They're all in favor. We got 1 Democrat that, of course, is not. In Region 8, we've got 2 senators. They're both Republican. And Larry Taylor is still unknown or on the fence. And Joan Huffman has reported that she will vote for it, but has certainly indicated that she's getting a lot of conservative opposition. We really haven't seen much Eagle Forum. I haven't anyway in our activities around Houston, but we're sure they're here. That's probably enough for me. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Bill. Aaron, I think I've got him. I'm going to bring Aaron Ponce in because he's on the call. Aaron, can you hear me? And can we hear you? I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Roger, all right.
Yeah.
I'm the captain for Region 12. Geographically, Region 12 encompasses the entire southern tip of Texas, bordering Mexico and the Gulf of Mexico. It runs from Brownsville, Corpus Christi on the east, Brownsville, Laredo on the west. From Corpus Christi and Laredo, Region 12 forms an apex at the southern border of San Antonio. The densest population of this region lies in the Rio Grande Valley to the south, Laredo to the west, Corpus Christi to the east, and southern San Antonio to the north. Of the 12 state House districts, that's 31, 32, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43. 10 of them are Democratic, 2 are Republican. Of the 10 Democratic ones, their stance, 2 of them are unknown, 8 are opposed. Of the 2 that are Republican, both support. Of the 3 state senatorial districts, they're all 3 Democratic. It's Chuy and Hinojosa in Senatorial District 20, Zaffarini in 21, and Lucio in 27. Leadership advised me that one was approachable, which was Zaffarini, and the other 2 are against, which is Chuy and Hinojosa and Eddie Lucio. 5 of the 12 House districts have district captains. The goal is to have those filled, the 7 remaining positions, within 30 days. All senatorial positions have been filled. Have a complete team fully ramped up, trained, ready to hit the field within the next 60 days. Goal to meet face-to-face meetings with all of the legislators within the next 90. And we'll meet with leadership and Martin Harry to determine legislative strategy. And despite nobody having really seen or heard yet about CLS Project Texas in this region, the number of supporters and volunteers is pretty incredible. We currently have 1,727 supporters, 142 volunteers, and 6 leaders. Goal is to increase these numbers by 5-fold within the next 12 months. That's it.
Aaron, that was awesome. Thanks so much to our regional captains. I hope that those who are listening can hear the research that they're doing into all their House districts, the Senate districts. Just very impressive with the leadership here. And now we're going to jump right back into our state team. Tom Dowdy, I don't even know if I saw that you were on the line. Is Tom on the line? I don't think Tom's on the line. And Martin, I'm not sure if Martin's on the line. Martin's not on the line. So let me real quickly. Tom Dowdy's our coalitions director. He's been in state leadership about as long as anybody, maybe right after Tamara. The coalitions director is responsible for kind of reaching out to different coalitions, any liberty-type-minded groups or any just typical Kiwanis groups, Lions clubs, anything like that, or corporations, or anything like the American Farm Bureau or the Cattlemen's Associations. The original thought with those was to try and procure some type of endorsement, but those organizations don't really do that, so it's turned more into a networking type of opportunity. But the biggest thing about Tom and what he's done is he was really the first person, and for at least a year and a half, was about the only person statewide giving presentations. He knows this stuff inside out. I'm sure he has given literally hundreds of Convention of States presentations. Sorry that he couldn't be on the line. Martin, if you're on, you can speak up. If you're not on, Martin is kind of the glue, because as the legislative liaison, he has to keep track of all the fantastic stuff going on with the legislators. He has to try and keep track of all that information that all those regional captains and district captains feed him about meetings they've got, what's come from those meetings, where legislators may stand, what they may have said, or what their staff may have said. And he's got to try and give us some direction as to what we might need to do to either support those legislators or put whatever type of pressure we can, and also just how to approach them, because it's different depending on what their opposition is. Martin is an expert at being able to discuss whether it's political opposition just because they're in a district which doesn't support us for whatever reason, or at least there's the perception that they don't have the support, or there's a philosophical difference in which they really don't understand the process and they're concerned about it. All right, myself, I'm up here. Yep, we need to finish on time. Thanks, Tam. We'll go as quick as we can. I am the co-director here. I was a district captain for quite a while. I'm also doing a regional, but not a great job at that because it's just very difficult to do both. But I've got Senate Districts 8, 22, and 23. Senate District 8 is Van Taylor. He is on the fence, though I think he will probably support. He is literally down the hall one door from Senator Birdwell's office in Austin, and I actually spent quite a bit of time in Senator Taylor's office past session since he was right down the corridor. Senator Birdwell, obviously, in Senate District 22, so we have support there. And then Senator Royce West in Senate District 23, pretty much a hardline Democrat, and has not really budged from that perspective, though we don't have anything on record from him, and he's kind of in the heart of Dallas. I'm going to pass on to Tamara then and let her pick up kind of what she does. Go ahead, Tam.
Hey, I just want to let you know that basically all the regionals and our executive team are on the line. I've gotten some text messages in Slack from several of them who've had trouble dialing in with the special access code. So just to let you know, we'll have that, make sure that's ironed out on our next call. But everybody is on the line tonight, just to let you know. What am I? I'm a rabble-rouser extraordinaire. I love this country. I believe that there's nothing more important we could do than what we are doing right now with the Convention of States project. I was the state director, solo state director. I was the first volunteer here in the state of Texas, and I am so thankful for Paul Hodson's extraordinary leadership, organizational skills. We work pretty doggone well together, and I am absolutely want to give kudos to our regional captains, our district captains, who tirelessly reach out to their volunteers and supporters on a daily and weekly basis. I just want to say what a privilege it is getting to be inspired and learn from the grassroots and the letters that we receive on a daily basis and the phone calls that Paul and I receive from people saying, I am 92 years old. I fought in World War II. I'm a veteran, and I just can't stand it anymore. What can I do? And we have those calls from multi-generations. It is those people that we are all getting an opportunity to work together. So being part of this effort it is just more than a privilege. It really is the refounding of the United States of America, and we get a chance to effectively be part of that by working with our state legislators to make our voices heard. So I just want to say we have one rule of thumb, and that is be nice. And I love that because it really separated us from a lot of our opponents last session, even opponents who tried to pretend they were Convention of States supporters. And our legislators, whether they were on the fence, opposed to us, or supporting our effort, knew every time when those opponents were trying to portray us and be mean and using bad language and the wrong tactics that we don't use. So I'm really proud of our group for standing strong with being nice, because we will get this done. We will have complete victory, and just a privilege to work with all of you.
All right. Thanks, Tam. We're going to try and wrap this up as quickly as we can, and I know that the other leadership has been messaging me, but I'm sorry, guys. I hope I did you justice in explaining what you do and the great job you do. Mark mentioned at the beginning of the call about the petition drive for the Lieutenant Governor. We have a link on the agenda if you've got that. If you don't, you can go to cosaction.com/Texas, and it's right. It's the front thing there. It will take you to the page which will allow you to sign the petition. It's going to ask for your name and your address, which is important because they want to know what city you're in to make sure that you're somebody who's actually a constituent, which means somebody who lives in Texas. That page, as soon as you RSVP, as soon as you submit that petition, the next page is going to give you an opportunity to actually send an email directly to the Lieutenant Governor. It's pre-filled, but we would encourage you greatly to put in your own message, your own words, why you want a Convention of States, an Article 5 convention. Let the Lieutenant Governor know. We've set that up for you, and just going to let you know that you can go straight to the page there. We have a lot coming on. In 3 weeks, here's kind of the big picture. In 3 weeks, we were going to be in the 4 major metropolitan areas with major events. Obviously, the 13th on Tuesday, we're going to be down in Austin for a big day at the Capitol and our hearing there. Then just a few days later, we're down in Houston at the Kingwood Tea Party, big rally, the celebration day, and Mark's actually going to be flying out for that, so it's going to be good to see Mark again. The next day, we have a fairly large event in New Braunfels, which is right outside of San Antonio, Catholics for Religious Freedom. There's links on the agenda here, and there's also on our site, our COS Action Texas site. If you go to the events page, there's links there to all those events. And then something big in which both Representative Miller and Senator Birdwell are going to be at is the Simulated Convention, which is in Williamsburg, Virginia. We didn't really talk about that at all, but it's going to be awesome. There's a link for where the live stream. You can sign up to watch the live stream on that Friday. Go ahead and watch our delegates who are there. There's going to be delegates from every state and their legislators. We're going to work through the rules. We're going to exercise the rules, and we're going to show that this actually can't run away. And also put a link on the agenda to the beautiful trailer that our video team, led by Garrett, has put together. And then finally, we're going to be out in Fort Worth on the 27th. So that's a little less than 3 weeks away, which is just crazy how things are happening. That's a big town hall. Mark's going to be out for that as well. And Senator Birdwell is going to be there as well. Tamara, did I miss anything on all the big stuff?
I think you've covered it pretty succinctly. Please go to cosaction.com/Texas, and you'll be able to go to the events page. All of this information is listed there. We want you to find an opportunity where you are, that you can come and meet some of our Texas leadership. Paul and I can't be at everything, but for each one of these events, there is going to be Texas leaders there. Please introduce yourself, make yourself visible to us so that we get an opportunity to meet you in person. And for those of us, we will just be checking in with that page on a regular basis, because that's going to be our clearinghouse for all of our activities, and we will be posting those at the beginning of the week so that you'll have an idea of what's coming out for the next week, 2 weeks at a time. So everything for September at this point is listed at cosaction.com/Texas.
Yes, and everything we know about even in advance gets there if you want to scroll through. But check back regularly, because it's amazing how many events we have that pop up. Can you show up next week and do something? And we'll have people, you've heard our leadership that's around the state, they get these opportunities, and our state information analyst, who we didn't introduce, who's just an amazing guy, and I know he doesn't sleep for however he does everything, Mike Cassidy. He gets those events out there. Let me just again emphasize, if you can make it to Austin on Tuesday, that's going to be an exciting day. I'm not going to release the numbers on how many people we think are going to be there, because we want that to be a surprise. We think that's going to be a very, very exciting day in Austin this coming Tuesday. Tamara and I always kid that it's like Christmas when we go down to the Capitol. It's your Capitol. This is an opportunity for you to come. If you haven't done this before, we know we have a lot of new supporters since the session ended last year. Get a chance to walk the Capitol with us. We're going to have a lot of leadership there, a lot of folks. It's going to be an exciting time. And I've got links I added to the agenda as well. Just bookmarks our COS Action page, our calendar of events page, which is right off the COS Action page. Quick shout out to Tamara on Thursday mornings, Constitutional Coffee. I'm not quite sure. Are you doing that from the parking lot tomorrow, where you're going to be?
I will be either doing it from the parking lot or most likely during the setup of the Williamson County Republican Women's Luncheon. Both Angie Turner and I will be there. My 92-year-old great-grandmother will be there. She is my, how can I say this? She's my wingman. And she walked those halls last session, and she is eager to get going during the next session. So I don't care how old you are, where you come from, there's always room for you to do something, and we welcome it. We can use you right where you're at, whether it's phone calls or writing letters to the editor or just walking those halls with us. We look forward to meeting each and every one of you on this call tonight. And that's all I've got. Have a great week, everybody.
Yep, very much so. I'm sorry we didn't have time for questions. If you have questions, go ahead and don't hesitate to email us. I promise I will sift through my email and find things at some point. That's all we've got for tonight. Thank you all so very much. As the governor has told us, he can't do it alone. We can't do it alone. It's all of us together doing this. Very exciting times here in Texas. We will lead. This is our opportunity to lead and to help our nation. It's exciting times to live in. Look forward to seeing many of you in Austin on Tuesday. Thank you again for being on the call, and thanks especially to Representative Miller and to Senator Birdwell and to Mark.
You're welcome, Paul. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I know Mark's still on the line as well. Thank you so very, very much, and we look forward to working with everybody this coming session. Everyone have a good night. It's 10 o'clock straight up. Thank you for hanging with us, and we'll talk to you again real soon. Thanks. Good night.